Have you ever woken up or maybe you just gone about your day and felt that dull ache in your back, that frustrating stiffness or sometimes even real pain, even when you haven't done anything particularly strenuous? It's something so many people experience, and it often leaves you wondering, why today? What did I even do? Well, today, we're going to take a deep dive into exactly that mystery. We want to uncover some of those hidden factors that can silently make herniated disc pain worse, and more importantly, give you some practical, actionable strategies to help you reclaim your spinal health and, well, vitality, especially if you're maybe navigating life over 60. We've been looking into some really insightful stuff from an expert guide, Reclaim Your Youthful Joints, Natural Secrets for Ageless Health. It really digs into both diet and lifestyle influences. So our mission today is basically to give you a shortcut, help you become really well informed about what's silently impacting your spine, hopefully providing some of those aha moments, about how to really nurture your body and live with less discomfort. This deep dive is definitely for you if you're curious about how everyday habits affect your body, or if you're actively looking for ways to manage existing discomfort, or maybe you just want to proactively support your long-term health. Get ready, because we're going to uncover some surprising facts and practical tips that could genuinely change how you feel and move.
All right, let's kick things off by looking at a surprising culprit. We often think back pain comes from, a wrong move or lifting something heavy, but our first insight suggests the answer might actually be sitting right there on your dinner plate. What's maybe the most overlooked category of foods that contributes to this sort of silent fire in our bodies?
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it, to think of your body as this incredibly intricate ecosystem. It's always striving for balance. And when that balance gets disrupted by, well, constant inflammation, it really is like a low-grade fire just smoldering inside. Now, for someone with a herniated disc, where that vulnerable cushion between your vertebrae is already compromised, the systemic inflammation can be truly detrimental. It can cause swelling in the tissues around it, putting more pressure on those sensitive nerves and just intensifying the pain. And to answer your question directly, one of the biggest culprits, often hiding in plain sight, processed foods.
Processed foods. Okay, we hear about them all the time for general health, but how do they specifically impact something like a herniated disc? Seems quite localized.
Well, think about anything that comes in a package, with a super long list of ingredients you can barely pronounce. These things are often just loaded with unhealthy fats, way too much sodium, refined sugars, artificial additives, the works. They don't just not help your body, they actively trigger systemic inflammation. And they offer practically zero beneficial nutrients for repair. So instead of giving your body what it needs to heal that disc, you're essentially pouring fuel on that internal inflammatory fire. We're talking fast food, obviously, packaged snacks, those frozen meals high in sodium, and yes, processed meats like hot dogs, bacon, that kind of stuff.
Right, that makes sense. Processed food's definitely inflammatory. But what about something that seems, I don't know, less obvious, like a piece of white bread or a sugary drink? A lot of people might think, oh, it's just one cookie. How bad can that really be for my back? Can you actually connect those casual indulgences to disc pain?
Oh, absolutely. Refined carbohydrates in sugary foods. So yeah, your white bread, white rice, pastries, cakes, cookies, sugary drinks. They cause these really rapid, sharp spikes in blood sugar. Now, this isn't just about weight gain, although that definitely adds extra strain to the spine, which we can talk about later. But these spikes themselves trigger a whole cascade of inflammatory responses. It's like a systemic crisis mode. This can actually reduce vital blood flow and nutrient delivery right to your discs. Basically, your body ends up diverting energy away from healing and repair. It's like it's starving your discs of the building blocks they desperately need to mend themselves.
Okay, wow. And what about fats? We always hear good fats versus bad fats. Which ones are the villains here, and how do they affect the spine specifically?
You're right, it's not black and white with fats. But unhealthy fats, and especially trans fats, the kind you find in things like margarine, shortening, fried foods, and also certain vegetable oils like corn, soybeans, sunflower oils, they tend to be really high in inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids.
Yeah.
These fats actively promote inflammation. They're not just sitting there, they're creating an internal environment that really exacerbates disc pain. So when your body is trying its best to repair itself, these fats are kind of undermining the whole process at a cellular level. They make it harder for the disc to recover and stay, well, supple.
I've also heard some discussion around red meat and dairy being potentially problematic for some people. That can be surprising, right?
Yes, and this is where individual response really comes into play. It varies a lot. While red meat is a good protein source for some people, its high saturated fat content can increase inflammation. Similarly, dairy products can trigger allergic reactions or intolerances in others. Now, this might show up as systemic inflammation, but also sometimes more localized issues like bloating or gas. And that discomfort can indirectly worsen lower back pain just by adding internal pressure or making movement feel worse. The key takeaway here is really individual sensitivity. You have to pay close attention to how your specific body responds after eating them.
Got it. And finally, what about those daily drinks we often don't think twice about, like coffee or maybe a glass of wine? How do caffeine and alcohol fit in?
Good question. Excessive caffeine can lead to dehydration throughout the body, and this dehydration directly impacts your spinal discs. They absolutely rely on water to stay plump, elastic, and functional to act as those crucial shock absorbers. Dehydration can reduce their cushioning ability and also their capacity to absorb nutrients properly. Alcohol, too, is a potent dehydrator, and it can interfere with the body's natural healing processes. Plus, in larger quantities, alcohol can lead to increased systemic inflammation and actually heighten your pain sensitivity. So it can make an existing herniated disc feel noticeably worse.
Wow. Okay, so if you're listening, this really isn't just about general wellness advice. It's a pretty stark reminder that the internal environment we create through our diet is, well, a silent but incredibly powerful player in our spinal health. Every bite can either fuel healing or feed that inflammation. That's quite a wake-up call for what's on our dinner plates, isn't it? But okay, beyond what we eat, the actual motions we make all day long can also quietly conspire against our spine. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Our daily habits, just the ways we sit, stand, lift, move, can silently but significantly impact spinal health, especially if you're already dealing with a herniated disc. These are often things we do without a second thought, right? But the cumulative effect can be pretty profound.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, try imagining your spine like a stack of finely balanced blocks. Each disc acts as that crucial cushion between the blocks. Now, when you repeatedly put undue stress on these discs through poor habits, it's like constantly leaning on one side of that stack. Eventually, something's going to give, or an existing weakness like a herniation will just become more pronounced. For a herniated disc, this translates directly to increased pressure, chronic irritation of those sensitive nerves, and a significant slowing of the natural healing process. It's really about that cumulative microtrauma.
Let's talk about one of the biggest offenders. Prolonged sitting with poor posture. So many of us are guilty of this, especially with desk jobs. How does just sitting incorrectly for hours actually damage the discs?
Well, hours spent seated, particularly without proper lumbar support or, when slouching, puts immense unnatural pressure on the lower spine and discs. When you slouch, your spine forms that classic C shape. That posture is truly a recipe for disc trouble. It actively pushes a compromised disc further outwards, or it can even prevent an existing herniation from retracting and starting to heal. It's kind of like constantly squeezing a jelly donut from the front. You're forcing its contents backward right where the nerves are.
And improper lifting techniques, that's a classic. We hear the mantra, lift with your legs, all the time, but it's still such a common mistake. People are often in a hurry, I guess.
It absolutely is. Bending at the waist with your back straight, or even worse, twisting your torso while you're lifting something heavy. That puts tremendous shearing forces on the discs. Imagine one vertebra kind of sliding horizontally over the one below it, instead of just compressing evenly. This puts immense, unstable stress on an already vulnerable disc. It makes it incredibly easy to worsen a herniation or even cause a completely new one. It's so crucial to consciously engage your powerful leg muscles, not your weaker back muscles, to do the heavy lifting. Keep the object close.
Okay, so on the flip side, sometimes we think rest is always the best answer for pain, but too much inactivity can also be a problem for spinal health, is that right?
That's a really crucial point. While rest is definitely vital during acute, sharp pain, prolonged inactivity can actually be detrimental in the long run. Spinal discs, perhaps surprisingly, don't have a direct blood supply like muscles do. They rely on movement, the gentle pumping action from changing pressure to absorb nutrients and stay hydrated. Being too sedentary actually weakens the very muscles that support your spine, your core muscles. This reduces stability and makes your back far more vulnerable to strain and re-injury. You're effectively starving your discs of what they need to stay healthy and resilient.
What about activities that might feel like a good workout but could actually be making things worse for someone with a herniated disc?
Right. High-impact activities, think aggressive, running on hard surfaces, jumping, or even heavy weightlifting. Particularly if your form isn't perfect, create jarring forces. These send shockwaves directly up through the spine. For someone with a herniated disc, these actions can further compress that already compromised disc, causing direct irritation and intensifying pain. It's really about understanding the unique vulnerabilities of that injured disc and choosing movements that support its healing, rather than challenging its integrity.
And then there's something that seems obvious, but I suspect many people still do it. Trying to just push through the pain or ignoring professional advice. Why is that particularly dangerous?
This is so critical because pain is your body's communication system. It's a warning signal. Trying to push through it, or self-diagnosing, or skipping prescribed physical therapy, or just not consulting a healthcare professional, it means you're potentially allowing the condition to get significantly worse. You might be missing out on crucial interventions that could prevent more serious or even permanent damage. You're basically prolonging your own suffering and making recovery much more complicated. Ignoring those signals is like ignoring a flashing warning light on your car dashboard. It rarely ends well.
And what about something maybe less obvious, like body weight? How does carrying extra weight factor into spinal strain?
Carrying excess weight, especially significant weight around the midsection, dramatically increases the load on your spine, particularly the lower back, the lumbar spine. This constant added gravitational pressure directly exacerbates the symptoms of a herniated disc, and it really hinders its ability to heal properly. It's not just about how you look, it's pure biomechanics. It's about the constant crushing stress on those delicate spinal structures.
Okay, so for you, our listener, this really means taking a moment to notice these habits. Even seemingly small adjustments, like maybe sitting up a bit straighter right now or deciding to take a quick standing break soon, can have a surprisingly big impact on your spinal health over time. So we've shown a light on those hidden saboteurs both on our plates and in our posture, our daily movements. But this isn't just about avoiding the bad stuff, it's really about building a robust foundation for spinal health. So this next part is all about the empowering steps you can actually take. Healing is an active process, right? And it involves embracing positive changes.
Exactly. What's truly illuminating here, I think, is to view your spine as the central pillar of your temple, your body. And just like any important structure, a temple needs a strong foundation and regular maintenance. Your spine requires that same consistent, mindful care. And this care isn't necessarily about grand gestures or some sudden drastic overhaul. It's more about integrating small, consistent practices into your everyday routine. These practices don't just help individually, they actually work synergistically. They create an internal environment where your discs can genuinely heal and your pain can diminish.
Okay, let's circle back to diet then, but this time, let's focus on the good stuff. What does an anti-inflammatory diet really look like, specifically for nurturing our discs?
Absolutely. Think of embracing an anti-inflammatory diet as building your internal healing powerhouse. Focus on things like vibrant leafy green vegetables, spinach, kale, collard greens. They're packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that actively reduce inflammation. Also, incorporate fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines. These are excellent sources of omega-3 fatty acids, which are renowned for their potent anti-inflammatory properties. If you can, aim for wild-caught options. They often have a better fatty acid profile. For a sweet, healthy boost, reach for berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. They're loaded with compounds called anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that fight cellular damage. And don't forget the power of certain spices. Turmeric and ginger are ancient remedies with really well-proven anti-inflammatory effects. Try to incorporate them generously into your cooking or brew them into soothing teas. Opt for whole grains like brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat bread. These provide essential fiber and nutrients without causing those inflammatory blood sugar spikes we talked about earlier.
And make sure you're getting enough healthy fats, things like avocados, nuts, seeds, and good quality olive oil. All of these support your body's natural anti-inflammatory response. And perhaps the most fundamental, often overlooked piece: stay hydrated. Water is absolutely crucial for keeping those spinal discs plump, lubricated, and healthy. Aim for at least 8 glasses a day, and you can also get hydration from fruits like watermelon and cucumbers.
Okay, that's a great list for the kitchen. Now, beyond what we eat, how we move our bodies, how we interact with our environment seems paramount. What are some key ways to master proper body mechanics day to day?
Right. How you move matters so much more than you might think. First, when lifting anything, really master that technique of lifting with your legs. That means squatting down, keeping your back straight, and keeping the object as close to your body as possible. Engage your core muscles. And crucially, never hesitate to ask for help if something feels too heavy or awkward. Don't risk it. For mindful sitting, try to use a chair with good lumbar support. If your chair doesn't have it built in, a simple rolled towel or a small cushion placed in the curve of your lower back can make a world of difference. And take frequent breaks. Ideally, get up every 30 to 60 minutes just to stand, stretch gently, and walk around a bit. Break up that static posture. And finally, practice good posture everywhere, not just when sitting. Imagine a string gently pulling you upwards from the crown of your head. Keep your shoulders relaxed and back, and your head aligned directly over your hips like a plumb line.
Movement is medicine, we hear that a lot. But when you have a herniated disc, you're often worried about doing too much, or maybe the wrong thing. What kind of exercise is generally best, and what should people maybe be cautious about?
Gentle, low-impact exercise is definitely your best friend here. Walking is fantastic. It strengthens core muscles, promotes blood flow, all without jarring the spine. Swimming or aqua aerobics are truly excellent choices because the buoyancy of the water significantly reduces stress on your spine. This makes them ideal for gentle strengthening and improving flexibility safely. Yoga and Pilates can also be very beneficial when modified correctly. They can significantly improve core strength, flexibility, and balance. But the crucial caveat here is to always work with a qualified instructor who understands your specific condition. They need to provide appropriate modifications. And you especially want to avoid movements involving deep flexion that's basically rounding your lower back too much. That posture can put direct, harmful pressure on the front of the disc and potentially push the herniation further backward. And remember, building a strong core, that integrated network of abdominal and back muscles, acts like a natural corset for your spine. It provides essential stability. Physical therapists are great at teaching these specific exercises safely.
Okay, good advice. And finally, something many of us might overlook. Stress. It feels like a mental burden, but it has very real physical consequences, doesn't it? Especially for pain.
It absolutely does. Stress isn't just contained in your head, it directly impacts your physical body. It leads to chronic muscle tension, think tight shoulders, clenched jaw. It increases systemic inflammation, and it can actually heighten your sensitivity to pain. So learning to manage stress effectively is really a fundamental pillar of spinal wellness. Even just 5 or 10 minutes a day of mindfulness or meditation can help calm your nervous system and reduce that unconscious muscle clenching. Deep breathing exercises are incredibly simple, but so powerful for releasing built-up physical tension. And perhaps most importantly, prioritize getting adequate sleep. Your body doesn't just rest during sleep, it's actively healing and repairing itself on a cellular level. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night to give your discs the best possible chance to recover.
Right. So the powerful takeaway for you listening, it's probably not about achieving perfection overnight. Maybe it's about choosing just one small food change, like adding more leafy greens, and maybe one habit change, like setting a timer to stand up every hour, and just focusing on integrating those two things into your routine. Small, consistent steps truly lead to lasting, profound change. Okay, so we've covered a lot of the physical landscape, from diet to movement. But navigating life with something like a herniated disc, or really any chronic discomfort, it's never just about the body, is it? It feels like a full-person journey. It touches our emotional well-being, our sense of independence, even our connection with the world around us.
That raises such an essential question. What about the whole person? Because true healing from something like a herniated disc really involves addressing not only the physical discomfort, but also that emotional and mental impact. It means embracing patience, which can be hard, nurturing self-compassion, and actually celebrating every small victory along the path back to a fulfilling life. Your spirit's resilience, surprisingly, is often far greater than any physical challenge you might be facing.
So cultivating patience and self-compassion, that sounds key, but also really challenging. How does someone actively practice that when they're maybe in pain and feeling frustrated or down?
It's vital to remember that healing is rarely linear. It's not an overnight fix. There will absolutely be good days and there will be challenging days. On those tough days, instead of beating yourself up or getting into harsh self-criticism, try offering yourself the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend who is struggling. Acknowledge your discomfort without judgment. Just notice it. And consciously, deliberately, celebrate every small step forward. Maybe you walked a little further today than yesterday. Maybe you had a moment of peace without pain. Maybe you just made a healthy food choice. Each small victory reinforces your progress and builds momentum.
And we're certainly not alone in these journeys, even if it feels that way sometimes. The power of connection seems hugely important here, too.
It's immense. Sharing your experiences, your fears, your frustrations, but also your triumphs with trusted friends, family, or even finding a support group. It can be incredibly therapeutic. It lessens that heavy emotional burden of feeling isolated. And just hearing other stories can often provide new perspectives, practical tips, or simply the validation that you're not the only one going through this. Community is a powerful healer.
It also sounds like developing a greater awareness of our own body moment to moment can help us manage pain better.
Absolutely. Practicing mindfulness and body awareness just means bringing your conscious attention to your body throughout the day, even for brief moments. Notice, are you unknowingly tensing your shoulders right now? Are you clenching your jaw, holding your breath? Simple, gentle stretches and mindful breathing exercises can help you consciously release that unnecessary tension that often just compounds the underlying pain. It's really about being present with your body's signals, not fighting them.
And what if your life looks a little different now than it used to because of the pain or limitations? It doesn't necessarily have to be less fulfilling, does it?
Not at all. This is where embracing adaptability and finding joy in new ways truly comes in. A herniated disc might mean you need to adjust certain activities you used to love, and that can be tough. But it can also be a genuine opportunity to explore new pursuits that are gentler on your spine. Think about maybe taking up gardening with raised beds so you don't have to bend as much. Learning a new craft that you can do comfortably seated. Exploring low-impact dance forms. Or even just discovering new, flat, accessible walking trails in your area. Adaptability isn't really a limitation. It's more like a superpower. It allows you to continue finding joy and fulfillment, just perhaps in different, unexpected ways.
That's a great perspective. Finally, while all these natural approaches we've discussed are incredibly valuable and empowering, it feels really important to always highlight the need for professional guidance, especially with an existing condition like a herniated disc.
Indeed. That cannot be stressed enough. It is absolutely crucial to consult with your doctor or a qualified healthcare professional like a physical therapist or a specialist, especially if you have existing medical conditions or you're dealing with an acute injury. The wisdom and strategies we've discussed today are meant to complement, they do not replace, conventional medical advice for proper diagnosis and a tailored treatment plan. Your healthcare provider is really your essential partner and guide in building a comprehensive care strategy that's right for you.
Okay. Well, we've certainly journeyed through a lot today. Understanding those subtle ways certain foods and habits can worsen discomfort, to empowering ourselves with practical strategies for healing and prevention, and even touching upon that profound connection between our physical well-being and our emotional landscape. This deep dive has really been about empowering you with knowledge, encouraging you to embrace supportive habits, and maybe reminding you to connect with a community that uplifts you.
And remember, knowledge is always most valuable when it's understood and then actually applied. Every conscious choice you make, every small step you take towards incorporating these positive habits is truly a powerful step towards a stronger, more resilient spine and ultimately a more vibrant life.
So as you go about your day-to-day, maybe think about this. What new gentle activity could you explore? Something to nurture your spine and maybe rediscover some joy, even if it looks a little different from before. Perhaps it's just a new walking route you haven't tried, or committing to a few minutes of mindful stretching each morning. Remember, you have incredible power within you to foster healing, to reduce pain, and to embrace a life of vibrant health, one conscious choice at a time.